Hey bestie, it's time for your next session of Real Talk Friend Therapy with your favorite big sister auntie queen, Daysha Veronica. Hello, what up y'all? I hope you're having a lovely week so far. I can't even lie, this week has been super rough and something that I'll definitely have to get into at another time. But something that I can say that I'm very happy about this week is that it is finally below 80 degrees and I can truly get my fall on. Like for all of the ridiculous things that have happened this week, I can at least say, you know what? It's not crazy hot, so I can get through it. I can. I'm gonna try. I swear. But yeah, fall is just such a cozy, warm hug of a season, and I'm just so excited to whip out my sweaters and boil my tea and cozy up under my blankets with my dog. I also just think that summer is hard for me because I love to be stylish. I love me some layers, but in the summer, I just don't know how the girlies can be out here with the energy for all this outfit coordination. I can't do clothes. Literally, I'd be out here like half naked all the time. In my house, of course. I can't function. I can't think. Summer is just not my time, despite it being my birthday season. And honestly, there are some years where I'm just like, skip it. We can move on. Let's go to Virgo season. I actually really love Virgo season. I feel like I get super focused and organized. So I know it's a blasphemous thing for me to say as a Leo to just skip our season, but when you live in the desert, it truly does humble the fuck out of you. So in any case, continuing our theme this month of scary topics, I thought it would be great to do an episode on fear, but specifically about facing the reality of who we actually are and getting to that person that we really want to be. The title of this episode is actually a huge clue as to the resource I'm using for today's episode. One of the most famous books about fear out there, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Truly one of my favorite books that I've ever read, and we'll definitely do a whole deep dive breakdown on fear in a future episode with this book. But for this Better You, Better Friend episode, I wanted to talk specifically about expectations versus reality. How we think we're showing up in the world versus how we actually are, and the fear that can come with becoming the person that we want to be. Because I want to go back to a story I told in the first episode. In 2022, there was a video of a woman crying on Twitter that went viral because in the video, the woman is explaining how the pandemic was a rude awakening for her on friendships. Specifically, that she had people that she considered top-tier friends, but learned through the lockdowns that these same people did not feel the same way about her. And she couldn't figure out how she got to this place. And there was this beautiful chef's kiss comment under the video that said, "The friends you make are contingent upon your actions and the energy you give. The real question is, what type of friend were you?" Woo! I swear. And every time I read it, it's like I get this spirit because it is so deeply real and true. And it's a big reason why I have this series, Better You, Better Friend, on the podcast. I wanted to create a space for reflection, for us to think about the type of friend we've been to those around us and how we can be better. Because so many of us complain and sulk and real talk, bitch and moan about how making friends is so hard and awkward and difficult and annoying and la la la, and how we're 30, 40, 50 with no real friends. Or, I always find these interesting TikToks where it's people giving advice about friendship, but the advice is basically like, everyone's a weirdo. You'll be better off if you just stick to your man or your partner and yourself. And, have your opinion. But what are crazy are the amount of people I see in the comments who are like, yep, learn this the hard way. Now I only trust my man, myself, and God, or something like that. And no tea, no shade to God. God is good all the time. Although, we need to have a conversation about what just happened because, baby, Anyway, I digress. But I think it's so rare that we stop to ask ourselves this vital question: what type of friend am I? Because we all have an image of who we think we are, but the real scary question that no one ever wants to face is, how much am I truly like the person I want to be? The person that I want to be seen as? Is how much I see myself actually how the world views me? Really scary shit, right? And truly, understandably so. It is so much easier and comfortable to just imagine that we're amazing, wonderful, caring, compassionate people. In Crucial Conversations, another amazing read, they talk about how when we get into conflict, it is so important to decipher what are the cold, hard facts, the non-negotiable events that took place, versus the stories we tell ourselves about what those events mean, because as human beings, we love to write ourselves a great epic about how nothing is ever our fault. So it's much easier to perceive ourselves as being great friends. It's much harder to ask if the people closest to us actually see us that way because of fear, because of rejection, because of discomfort. In my book, Eat Your Way to Self-Confidence, I talk a lot about how, as humans, we are hedonistic creatures. We crave pleasure and comfort, and anything that is not that, we are not about that. But fear and discomfort are actually what create growth. One of the most life-changing lessons that I got from Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway is that fear, at its core, is just energy. It's a vibration in our body. Susan Jeffers, the author, writes that if everybody feels fear when approaching something totally new in life, yet so many are out there doing it despite the fear, then we must conclude that fear is not the problem. Obviously, the real issue has nothing to do with the fear itself, but rather how we hold the fear. For some people, the fear is totally irrelevant. For others, it creates a state of paralysis. The former hold their fear from a position of power, and the latter hold it from a position of pain. And what I love about this quote is, again, this reminder that fear is not what holds us back from becoming the person that we want to be. It is what we choose to do with that fear that determines that outcome. Everyone from Beyonce to Obama to Oprah has experienced fear and has still continued to feel it as well. But a big difference between us and the people that we admire is that they feel the fear and do it anyway. They don't wait for the fear to subside to act. They act even in the face of it. And that is how they grow and ultimately learn how to make that fear work for them. Because again, it's just energy. In 2021, I was in this interesting transitional place in my life, kind of similar to now, where I had just graduated grad school, but I couldn't find a job. I was trying to buy a house before the interest rate skyrocketed. And if you're wondering how the hell I could do that, it's because I was lucky enough to have assistance from a family member who knew that I would get a job. And so I'm applying for jobs and getting rejected. I'm putting in offers for homes and getting rejected. And anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm a pretty resilient person. It takes a lot to rattle me because I've been through a lot, even though I'm only 32 years old. But part of the reason why I've experienced so much in my life is because I'm constantly putting myself out there. Maybe not on social media as much. I'm working on it. But I have always been the person to go out for the school play or to run for school president or give speeches in front of hundreds of people or go to a dance class and be up at the front stumbling through the choreo or making a video go viral for all the wrong reasons. And I don't say that to brag, but just to say that the skill of resilience, the ability to bounce back and not let fear have a chokehold on you, is by working through it. It's by putting yourself out there and not being afraid to face rejection or not being seen as perfect. And so I'm in this rough spot and I decide to sign up to be part of this research project for this mental health app. And on the app, they have us take a series of courses about how we got to be who we are and a lot of other introspective work. It was actually a really great thing to be doing at the end of the year as you approach the upcoming new year and what you want it to bring for you. So they asked us to do this exercise where we reach out to people we trust and we ask them to describe us and to write down what they say and reflect upon how close what they say is to how we want to be seen in the world. Again, terrifying shit. However, the goal of this exercise is, again, building that resilience. It's being courageous enough to understand that it's easy to dream up the person you want to be, but it's much harder to put yourself in a position to identify the work you still need to do to become that person. But again, because I'm that weirdo for whoever reason thrives in the uncomfortable. And really, it's not that I'm addicted to uncomfortable situations. It's more that I hate regret and I hate what ifs. Living with that feeling of shoulda, woulda, coulda, I've just known from a young age, I am not built for that, okay? Like, there are people who leave high school wondering what could have been if they worked up the courage to tell their crush their true feelings. And let me tell you, I was never that person, okay? All my high school and my college and my adult crushes know exactly how I felt about them because I just cannot live with that feeling. And it's funny now that I think about it because even with my job search, if I'm really excited about a job and I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks, I think a lot of people would say to themselves, oh, that's basically a rejection and they'll move on. Baby, I cannot do that, okay? Like, I literally need you to tell me no in order to move on. I need that clear, firm response because that allows me to have closure. It allows me to say that I know I did my all. And me not getting together with that crush or landing that job is not because I didn't try hard enough, but it's because it just wasn't meant for me. Because I'll also say I've been in situations where having that attitude has actually gotten me what I was seeking. So going to private school is a great example. If you are new to this podcast, I went to a private high school. And when I was applying, because my mom was a single mom and we were low income, we needed a lot of assistance in order for me to be able to go. So I was applying for this external program that would have provided that assistance. But, I was also 13 and doing all this work required me getting up early on Saturdays to attend this program I was going to. And the program, they would help me with my applications. And sometimes I didn't want to go. Okay. Like, you could say I was being lazy or cocky or some combination of the two. But again, I had a perception of my situation in my head that led me to think that I had everything in the bag. So I could sleep in. I could afford to sleep in for a few Saturdays. Long story short, my mom was trying to get me to go one Saturday. And I was just like, why is she bugging? Like, I don't want to go. And she gave me the realest reality check of my life by showing me the letter that I didn't get into that external program, which meant that if I wanted to go to private school, I would have to do it on my own and basically hope that they gave us enough financial aid. And I kid you not, I started sobbing. But again, my mom being a real one, she was like, feel like you get close to what you want, and then I don't know, you get fearful or you just give up. And I've never forgotten what she said because it was so real. And to be honest, I still do this to this day. And I'm working to break out of this slightly self-sabotaging thing that I do when I'm close to what I want. But yeah, so after that, I kicked it into high gear because I could not live with the idea of me being the reason why I didn't get to go. So I did make it. And again, it wasn't the way that I wanted it to be because I had to be a day student instead of a boarding student at first. But I say all this to say that one, it's why I'm such a firm believer in this saying that if it's meant for me, it won't miss me. And if it misses me, then it's not meant for me. But also two, that again, it is challenging to become the person you want to be, the friend that you want to be, without facing the reality of where you are today. So I embrace this exercise as an opportunity to be real about who I am today as a person. And this is what I wrote to people. I said, hi, so I've been using this mental health app that is helping me do more self-reflection and explore my identity. Since you are someone who is close to me that I trust, I wanted to know what words you would use to describe me as a person. I am curious how I am showing up in the world to others and if it aligns with how I want want to show up. So please feel free to be honest. Any amount of words that you feel called to use is enough, even if it's just one word. Thank you. And so I sent it out, and it was terrifying to hit send, but I actually came around to really love this exercise because it made me realize that if I was sending this text to people that I truly trusted, then their response, whether positive or constructive, they were the first people that I would want to get this kind of feedback from, because I know that they would only offer it from a place of wanting to see me grow. Another unintentional thing that happened for me is that it also made me think about why I sent the text to certain people and not others, and what that meant for me as I navigated what it meant to have people in my first and second and third rings. So for those that are wondering, these are the responses that I got back from people. So one person said, intelligent, assertive, insensitive, risk taker, leader, nerdy, sexy, listener, black and white, but will entertain the gray if need be, firm in my beliefs, accepting of criticism, generally quiet, but outspoken when it matters, and creative. The next person wrote, playful, open, straightforward, supportive, and a stone cold fox. Okay. Then I got hustler, creative, intelligent, knowledgeable, nurturing, sociable, humble, beautiful, empowering, and polite. From another person, I got brave, pretty, funny, and leader. I got passionate, persistent, fierce, and thoughtful. Dynamic, immense depth, insightful, curious, perceptive, analytical, creative, witty, heartfelt, empathetic, warm, passionate, charismatic, calming, and paradoxical. Another person wrote determined, honest, anxious, daring, and bold. And then finally, I got loving, caring, confused, overwhelmed, resistant, and persistent. And because I was confused about confused, I followed up for clarification, and the person wrote, I think you're still figuring out who you are and that you don't fully know yourself yet. And to be honest, even with the constructive bits, I felt like everyone hit the nail on the head. There were some words that I was happy to see coming up several times, like my intelligence and my directness, because I do think those are key parts of what I want to be known for. Being seen for my beauty and my attractiveness, it was very humbling, or I don't know if that's the right word. It was deeply appreciated because, like I said, I love to look good, but it's not... Attractiveness is just a tender spot for me because of my weight fluctuations throughout my life and fat phobia and just our fucked up beauty standards in general. So that was a nice surprise. But yeah, even though the constructive feedback, like being insensitive or anxious or confused, I completely got where those people were coming from, and I could totally see it in myself, especially for the person who called me insensitive. I'm like, I get it. I'm passionate, but if that passion is not communicated in a certain way, it can come off as insensitive. I'm thoughtful, but if I get too stuck in my head, I can come off as anxious or confused. So all this to say, I'm extremely grateful for the honesty and the courage that it took for these people in my life to be honest with me in this way, because for real, there is fear on both sides of this exercise. Yes, it is fearful to receive the feedback, but it's also just as scary to send it. You know, I'm sure there were people who were scared of me being upset about the more constructive things they had to say. But again, their ability to press send is also a testament to the love and trust I have in these relationships, because even though there was fear, I'm sure they also had to have a mini pep talk where they were like, I trust that Daysha will know that my more constructive words are not out of harm, but real talk. So as I end this week's episode, my homework, or if you don't like homework, my offering for you is to feel the fear and send that text anyway, okay? So reach out to the people that you trust and ask them to tell you about you. You can literally copy and paste what I said. I'm actually working on making blog posts and resources around the episodes, so make sure you're on the email list to get those links when they're ready. You can sign up in the show notes. But yeah, fear is just energy. In one of my famous spoken word poem videos, I say that fear is just false expectations appearing real. If you do this exercise and are feeling daring enough to share with me, or our free Facebook community, or our even more exclusive Patreon community, those links to do so will be in the show notes. You could also be super daring and share with me over social media if you'd like. But overall, I hope that you get amazing clarity about yourself from this exercise like I did, and that it gives you the perspective you need to continue working on becoming the person that you want to be. And try to just sit with the feedback that people give you. You know, it's okay to follow up for clarification like I did with that one where I was kind of unsure, or I wanted to make sure that I was clear, but don't try to fight people on what they say, okay? Just take what they give to you, process it, let it wash over you. And again, it's letting you know what the work is that you need to do to be that person that you want to be. All right, besties, I'll catch you next time. Your girl is out. Loving Real Talk Friend Therapy? Of course you are. So don't forget to show us some love with a 5-star review wherever you are listening, and to join our Patreon to unlock bonus recordings, videos, private chats, and more.